Well, there's another scooper in town, is there? Jeff N. Schneider says that Kathleen Kennedy, well, she doesn't have much time left at Lucasfilm nor at Disney. Today, we're dissecting the latest rumor and adding to the flavor of it by telling you what we know or think we know in regards to contractual negotiations behind the scenes. Folks, this is the kind of video that you, yourself, just have to see. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds simply by telling the truth day after day, hour after hour. It is the power that you have given us. Thank you for your time today. We will try to add value for the effort. Folks, today we're talking about Kathleen Kennedy. You have heard many times before that she is leaving Lucasfilm, and eventually, someone's going to be right. Today, we are simply giving you the information and letting you decide whether or not you think she's going on her way anytime soon. We'll lay the facts out. We'll show you what Jeff Schneider, the latest scooper, is saying about her stay, her tenure. Folks, let's bring the panel on right now. This is being shared by Culture Crave, but it's coming from the Schneider. Jeff Schneider, the guy behind this one, says Kathleen Kennedy will reportedly remain as Lucasfilm president until at least Q2 of 2025. Several Star Wars shows are in development that have not yet been announced. Okay, let's
Can we take the last sentence first?
Yes, because it's meaningless. Go for it.
Does it mean dirt is moving?
Well, I thought I was going to say that. Until you've got something you can point to me concretely, development has a broad meaning to it. So,
yes, it does.
Did somebody somewhere write on a napkin and hand it to somebody at Lucasfilm? I don't know. I don't know if you're talking about that or if you're talking about money's behind it yet. Until money's behind it, I don't care. All right, so take that one out and let's just remove it because it's meaningless. It's not well defined. What is well defined here, and this is coming from Schneider, and I don't know if anybody on the panel wants to talk about Jeff Schneider and what the reliability is here. It's sometimes humorous to me when they look into the accuracy ratings of these people. There was an account on X that gets cited all the time. And it's not Jeff Schneider, but this other account, it was like a 62% accuracy rating. So slightly better than 50-50. And I thought, my gosh, these people are being cited inside the press. And, almost as many times as not, they don't have it right. Okay, so Jeff Schneider, though. Panel, anybody got any opinion on Jeff Schneider before we dive into some of the interesting parts of this?
I don't know.
No.
All right. Well, we'll just go with Jeff then. All right, Jeff, you're in the good graces of the Pro Show today. All right. Kathleen Kennedy will reportedly remain as Lucasfilm president until at least Q2 2025. All right. Here's what's fascinating about this. And if you're a long-time listener, then you may already know some of these things. Kathleen Kennedy's current contract, we believe, is until October of this year. And in the past, Kathleen Kennedy has signed contracts of 3-year durations, and she's done that repeatedly. So that seems to be the norm. So Kathleen Kennedy, if she were to remain until at least Q2 of 2025, and this is what Jonas was talking about earlier today, Q2 of 2025, if that is the Disney version of Q2, then that would be very early 2025. So that would not be what you might think to be April, May, that kind of thing. This could be January, February, March, depending on how they are terming this. Like, is it related to the fiscal calendar of Disney? We're not sure. But the fascinating thing is, okay, so we're in August right now, and this is coming from Jeff Schneider, and he writes for The Wire, and a lot of people report on him. We've had no contact with Jeff Schneider, so we're not sharing our stuff. We've told you some of the things that we've been hearing behind the scenes about clearing the Lucasfilm deck and such. But if Kathleen Kennedy, if Jeff Schneider is right here, if she can remain until at least Q2 of 2025, that's 6 months from now, at most. So that's not a very big statement.
No.
If she is re-signing the contract, or if the contract negotiations are underway, or if they've been completed and the contract begins November of 2024, then if he is correct, this would look to me to be the signal that she is sunsetting out and they're doing a transition period. Now, I could be wrong. But the specificity of when she would leave in 2025 is what's so interesting to me. Panel, your thoughts on this from Jeff Snyder and how it lines up with what we know about the contract.
Maybe she's got an executive discount to stay at the Stella Nova, corporate interchange benefits, and she just doesn't want to give that up. That could be what's keeping her that long.
What would be the point in her staying, until February? Like, I don't get what the. I don't.
It could be that they've got nobody to take over that role, because people in the chat are saying Dave Filoni cannot be the head of a studio. He could be a creative head, sure, fine, whatever, maybe, but he cannot be the head of a studio. The amount of things that the head of a studio has to negotiate and put together, that is a lot. That is way outside Dave Filoni's wheelhouse.
Never stopped her.
Wow.
Is Jon Favreau still in the picture at all? Is that even a possibility?
According to what we had heard, Pro did a video on it earlier in the year, was that Favreau was done as of the movie.
That's what I thought.
Right, Pro?
Yeah, so Favreau, as far as I know, has no connections with Lucasfilm other than the contractual obligations he has to fulfill the movie with his Gollum production studio. Outside of that, there's nothing that would have a continuance there.
Do you think Favreau would even want to be head of Lucasfilm, though? Like, the guy seems to enjoy making movies, and he wouldn't. Be able
that's
to
what I was going to say. Is that he's a filmmaker first and foremost,
right?
And he doesn't need that aggravation. What he wants is somebody there who won't get in his way.
What's funny is you think about Lucasfilm right here. There was a brief moment where Lucasfilm was going to branch out, and this Children of Blood and Bone thing got put forward in that same Disney Plus Investors Day, where they announced everything in the world, and I think they have a 50% attach rate on that. They were going to do things other than Star Wars. Obviously, they tried with Willow, Children of Blood and Bone, Indiana Jones. It seems like the interest was there to push into other areas, but right now Lucasfilm is pretty much only Star Wars, and if Star Wars doesn't work, then Lucasfilm doesn't work. If Jon Favreau were to come in and to say he was the head of Lucasfilm, I don't see why that would mean he can't make films, but I think his first priority would need to be making Star Wars films. So it's essentially one subject. And the argument has been made on channels like this that Star Wars is Luke Skywalker. End of story. And I think there's a really good point to that. I'm not saying you can't do a story without Luke Skywalker in any way, but it needs to be firmly implanted as a side story, like they're trying to rebrand the Acolyte as a offshoot of Star Wars now. So I don't know about Favreau as the head of the studio. There are executives out there who could probably run this, but they would need to be tested executives, and I don't know of many of those who would be willing to take that seat, because Disney seems to kill creativity and go for safe answers only.
But I mean, and that's the whole point, right? What's the incentive to take this job? I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. There's not much left. I mean, what are the quality or the good pieces that are there? If you're going to invest in a company, if you're going to buy a company, let's say you wanted to buy, your friend's like convenience store, right? And he owns it outright, and he wants to sell it. And you have to look at the books and look at the last several years of its performance and the trends and everything else. And you look forward, try to project what the next few years will look like before you make that investment. Any smart executive walking in the door for this knows this is a reclamation project, right? They know that they have to somehow bring people back to this wonderfully storied franchise of Star Wars that is, basically all Lucasfilm is to date, as Jonas said. But what is there to build on? Is there anything outside of going back and somehow rekindling the original trilogy? There were pieces there, right? I mean, what Jon Favreau was doing as a creator, which I don't think he would do. I don't think it would be a wise idea for him to become the executive there, because it would keep him from doing what he needs to do, which is to make quality entertainment items. So you're walking into this. I can't name one person that would willingly walk in here when they're set up to fail.
Okay, let me give you an example of what I think they might try. And let me say this. The reason I have this article pulled up, this literally just came out while we were doing the show. This is over at World of Real. Nobody seems to know why Kathleen Kennedy is still at Lucasfilm. There's something going on. There are new articles coming out as we speak today about Kathleen Kennedy, and just something is odd with these coming out at this point. Anyway, we'll come back to that story once I get a chance to do a little bit more investigating.
You know what I would do as far as I'm sorry.
Real quick, let me just here's what I think they might try. I think they might try Carrie Beck at the head of this thing, at the head of the studio in place of Kathleen Kennedy, because Carrie Beck brings the female aspect of this, and she's already there. She's already entrenched. She's already part of it. And then they put Dave Filoni in charge of the creative. He's already that anyway, and you make them co-leads of the studio. I think that's what they might attempt, and I think they just might know that Lucasfilm is going to be, as Jonah says, an entrenched problem for the company for years ahead.
I've got an idea. What if they buy Imagine Entertainment and Ron Howard and Brian Glazer run Lucasfilm? I think that's probably the best idea they could ever have.
Ron is trying to get to retirement faster than Iger. I'm sorry, Marvin. Go ahead.
No, I mean, what I would do is, even if it's just for a year, whatever amount of money it takes, even if just for the optics of it, to get everything back on track, you ask George to come out of retirement and head Lucasfilm as the head of the studio for a year until you build up a suitable replacement. I mean, he's 80 years old, but I mean, think of the optics that would be if they brought, because we've been hearing for forever, they're bringing George Lucas back into Star Wars. The optics of that move would be huge for them.
Let me put out a thought on this, and we need to bring Tom in. Tom, I know that you probably over the years have gotten tired of hearing Kathleen Kennedy's leaving, but there is an interesting aspect to this rumor from Snyder, who, by the way, Snyder is not the kind of person who would throw this out, I think, just for clicks or anything like that. The Gina Carano lawsuit's coming up. Is there any possibility they might want to get Kathy out of there ahead of the lawsuit going into mediation, deposition, and exposure?
I don't think it matters. I mean,
walk us through.
She's going to be a part of the case one way or the other. Oh, go ahead.
And she's still going to get deposed. She's still going to be front and center. Her name is still going to be involved with it. So,
but if she doesn't work for Disney anymore, Disney can say, well, we parted ways with Kathy. We can't speak on her behalf. You'll have to talk to her publicist.
That's a good point.
Point, but at the same time, she was employed by Disney during this whole thing. I don't think that's going to matter too much.
I don't. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it might matter more about what she says. So if they're smart, they're not going to want to fire her. The only thing that would maybe benefit from being fired is an NDA, but I'm not sure that would matter in this case.
Nope.
So yeah, in that sense, it makes more sense for them to keep her. Like as the old song says, it's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah. Nobody wants to replace her. I mean,
well, there's that too, but yeah.
This is out of IMDb. It just came out. It says Kathleen Kennedy might be exiting Lucasfilm in 2025. Apparently, they're hosting it from Epic Stream, and just came out today. And as far as I know, it just came out. It's following up on this Jeff Snyder story too. There's a lot of people piggybacking on the Jeff Snyder story, and of course, we're here doing the same. But it's because of the information we know where the contract ends in October. And so if she were to leave in early 2025, it's just a fascinating thing to watch. It might indicate that Disney is looking for a transitional period and looking to let her go out, as we've suggested in the past, with sort of an award show exit where she gets to make the rounds, get all of the lifetime achievements, get all of the accolades, the eternal awards, and then she can exit stage left very far.
When does Mandalorian and Grogu come out, the movie?
Not until 2026.
Okay, so
I think they'll need to find a different word than accolades because it sounds too much like acolyte.
Might be a bad reminder.
Yeah.
And we have come to the end. Saying farewell is such sorrow, but fret not yet, for content is still on the way. Thrice a day, because thrice is nice, right here on the Pro Channel. And folks, we've also got partner programs out there, partner channels here on YouTube that you just have to see. Subscribe to That Part Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and Vacation Radio, because, well, the pattern was getting a little tedious. All right, folks, something that's not tedious. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you real soon. Drop a comment down below. Keep learning, keep growing, and you know it. Keep having fun.